Saturday Social is powered by EA Sports FIFA 23 with PlayStation.
Only one place to start, though. England 0, USA 0 last night. I don't keep the faith, though, Joe. Let's get to our guest's opinion. What did you make of the game, Spencer?
Listen, it wasn't a good 0-0. I think that's the problem. You can have a good 0-0, you can have a bad 0-0. From a USA perspective, it was a great 0-0. It's another win-draw for them. It's like in 2010 all over again. But 4 points from 2 games is fine. It's decent, right? It's just the fact that we didn't attack second half. You know, we weren't pushing enough. We weren't pressing enough. They were better. We have to be honest. That's why it hurts. You can win a draw, especially if it's a score draw and you come back from behind. But that felt like a loss. It felt like we weren't brave enough. But at the same time, I'm not going to go all Rory Jennings on it and start saying, Southgate's got to go mid-tournament. What is he on that? It's a case of, getting behind the boys, and actually it's a good position to be in.
I agree with that. A bit of getting behind the boys, positivity, a bit of perspective needed. Do you know what I love about that as well? Rory Jennings gets mentioned so many times when he's even not on
Rory. He knows what he's doing.
Bold opinions.
He knows
will
what
be
he's
watching.
doing.
Nicole, same question to you. What did you make of it?
Oh, it was a bit boring, wasn't it, guys? I watched it at home. I wanted to go to the pub to watch it, and then I thought, no, we're here this morning. I'm a professional. I need to get an early night. I want to watch it at home, properly focus on the game. And I sat there, and in the second half, at one point, I was like, oh my God, I think I've dozed off. I think what the difficult thing is, and I think what's a shame, is after the opening game, I think we all have got so excited, maybe a bit carried away as classic England fans, but there was so much going on in that first game, creativity, positivity. It was exciting to watch. So I think we expected that in this game, and then it just felt like a bit of a downer, didn't it? Not much was happening, but I think maybe we're all overreacting a little bit, like looking at social media last night and people like Rory. Some people were being a bit extreme. It was like we've been beaten 5-0.
Yeah, let's have a look at the table, actually, now, to give a little bit of perspective, because I know what you mean with social media. When England win the first game, it's coming home, and then it's sort of doom and gloom when they don't. But looking at the league table, England top of the group, so it's still in their hands. Interestingly, all 4 teams can still qualify. England play Wales next, and, of course, Iran play USA. And it got us thinking about our next sort of item for the show, this, didn't it?
Yeah, because there was a lot of chat, wasn't there, from people online, a little bit of overreaction about the amount of things England need to change. England need to do this, England need to do that. So we thought we'd ask our guests what England need to change to win the World Cup.
Okay.
A few little tweaks, nothing too major. So we can have a look at their first suggestion now from both Spencer and Nicole. Spencer, you're looking at the striker position. Now, this isn't Harry Kane, is it? It's talking about the role he's playing.
It is, and listen, if there's a reason Harry Kane's dropping as deep as he is, particularly in that second half, and Southgate really likes him in there, then you can play him with a striker. I think he's good enough, Harry Kane, to play in that role if he wants him to be like more of a 10 than a 9. But there's no point for me having what we saw yesterday, which is he drops so deep and he's only got the 2 wide men to play to, and they're not pressing anyway. He ends up standing right on Mason Mount's position. Mason Mount is then trying to almost become Harry Kane and make those forward runs. If we're doing that in games and that's a deliberate choice, then let's take Mount off and let's put Callum Wilson on. Let's put Rashford through the middle, whatever it is, Foden out wide. Like, there's a load of different ways we can do it if there is a reason that Gareth wants Kane in that position, because he is a good provider. You've got 2 assists against Iran. Played a great ball for Marcus Rashford last night, which nearly worked out. So I don't mind him in there. It's just when we don't have that attacking outlet, I think it's going to cost us against some teams.
Yeah. Is that where you were leaning towards with formation, or are you talking to go to the 3 at the back? Or?
You know what? With the formation, the problem is England fans have been wanting 4 at the back, right? We've been wanting to play more positively, more attacking football, and then we get it. But then that's also what's weird is in the first game it worked so well. Last night it was rubbish to watch. So Joe, I almost feel like it doesn't really matter what the formation is in a way. I feel like if it's not working and that formation wasn't working last night, change something, change it up. But regardless of the formation, anyway, if we're not going to attack and it's just going to be passing at the back, and then it's still working. It's not working. So something needs to change. And we can talk about the formation, but if we're not going to play forward anyway, then it doesn't really matter how many are at the back, does it?
It's interesting to see if he does change formation, because he did famously change formation within the Euros dependent upon the opposition. So
only twice, though, they were against Italy and Germany.
Against Italy and Germany, yeah, exactly that. So it'll be interesting to see if he does tweak it.
I can't see him doing that against Wales. I can't see him changing the formation against Wales.
I think he'll stick with what, and he likes sticking with the same thing, even though we've seen it didn't quite work.
Yeah.
OK, let's have a look at your next 2. So don't forget, these are 5 things that we've asked Spencer and Nicole. Just little tweaks, because, as Joe said, a lot of people very vocal on social. Tweaks that England needs to make to win the World Cup. And you've gone with players for the next one, and both of you with Foden. Spencer, Foden and Maddison. So are these players to start? Are they more game time? What is this for you?
Well, obviously, Maddison, he's got to be fit first. He's got to be ready, so you can't really criticise Gareth for not using him yet. But assuming he does get fit at some point, I think he represents a little bit of a wild card element. I think he's going to be the player that other nations know the least about in terms of international. He's got 1 cap, I believe. So he can come in there and he can change things up, I think. And he's a very different player to a Mason Mount, for example, in that position. Foden is that he's become the Grealish of last tournament. Everyone just gagging for him to get on there. There doesn't seem to be a reason he's not playing, other than, you know, Gareth saying he shouldn't play him from the middle because that's not where he plays for his club and things like this. Like, the man's so talented, you can play him anywhere, I'm pretty sure. So I think we need to see something different. I think that we've got guys on the bench that can change a game. And I didn't actually have too much of a problem with the substitutions Gareth did yesterday, but I think he could have done more of them.
Bring Foden on. I mean, we're echoing what everyone on social media was saying. All the broadcasting outlets, like, everyone was just going wild for Phil Foden. And that's the thing. So I did Foden and Trent, but also Maddison, obviously, if he was fit right now. He's such a creative, talented player in great form as well. But Phil Foden, the quality of we know what he can do, like how he can change a game. How you leave him on the bench when it's
So who would you start him over then? Who would you start him over, Sterling or Saka?
I think after yesterday, Sterling can come out, but I think Mount can come out as well.
I think Mount. Mason Mount had a poor game last night. Look, most of the players weren't great last night, let's be honest. But I think we need that creativity, we need that flair, we need that oomph, that something, and that's what Phil Foden provides. And especially when it's been such a boring, nothingy game. No one's performing very well. How you don't bring him on to freshen that up?
It is an area England are blessed with so many talented players, aren't they? Like you said, Mount, Foden, Grealish, Saka, Sterling. They're blessed with a lot of players in those forward positions. So it'd be interesting to see if he does change. I wanted to ask you about Trent, though, because that's the other player that you said, and a lot's been made of Trent. Obviously, you've got Trippier there. You've also got Kyle Walker, who hasn't been fully fit, but coming back to fitness now. So do you think Trent is likely to play minutes?
No, I don't think he is. My thing, again, I guess it comes back to my first point of formation. So if we're going to do a back three and then maybe put Trent in and he can just bomb up and down that side, but I don't think Gareth will play him. No, he doesn't seem to really love Trent Alexander-Arnold that much. And
not a Gareth player, is he?
No.
Gareth is very... We know now he's a very, I don't want to say defensive, but risk-averse manager.
Well,
I think Trent is the opposite of that as a player, you know. And when you're an attacking team, a pressing team like Liverpool, it makes a lot more sense. But we saw last night that's not the way that Gareth intends us to play, I don't think.
Yeah, let's have a look at your next ones then, because I think a couple of the points we're talking about also play into these next ones. Rotation versus Wales and braver going forward. So when we say rotation versus Wales, would you start Foden in that one?
I'd almost start everyone, to be honest, that hasn't started.
Really?
And I don't
change it completely.
I don't mean that in a not completely, but I don't mean that in any disrespect to Wales. But the fact that we're going through, unless we lose by 4 goals, I personally feel like any 11 you make out of our squad should not be losing by that scoreline to Wales.
Yeah.
I also think that there's a big argument to rest some players that need a rest. I mean, Harry Kane, I think he was told to drop deep a little bit yesterday, but equally I do think he's very tired. He started every game for Tottenham. He could really use a break. And let's be honest, is there anything he did yesterday that Callum Wilson couldn't have done? I mean, I'm a big Kane fan, but he had 1 shot. He had 1 shot on goal.
So tired,
how many shots has he even had in these 2 games? Not many.
He could do with a break.
I'd have Wilson in there. I'd have Foden in there. I'd have Maddison if he's fit. Walker if he's ready for some minutes, get him in there. Phillips if he's ready for some minutes, get him in there, because it's a chance to rest people, isn't it? Rashford, yeah, everyone. Honestly, I'd get everyone in. I think our team is so strong in that regard in terms of squad depth that we can't make too bad an 11. The only place I'm a little bit concerned maybe is left back, because I think Luke Shaw has a risk of getting a bit complacent, thinking his spot's 100% nailed on.
Play Trippier there.
Could play Trippier.
Maybe open up for Trent as or Kyle Walker.
Let's get Ben White in there.
Yeah. Yes.
Get him in there.
Hashtag bring on Ben White. That's a terrible hashtag. Get it trending.
It's a long hashtag, isn't it? That.
And you said braver going forward. So against Wales, are you thinking... What I noticed yesterday is I thought the fullbacks were so deep compared to where they were against Iran. Iran, they were almost playing as like secondary wingers, weren't they? Yesterday, they were part of a back 4.
Yeah, I think especially in this group stage. The thing is, I get what Spencer's saying as well. And because we do have that strength in depth, we could bring on loads of players that haven't been really getting the minutes yet and still have a really solid team. But right now we need to win that game against Wales, and obviously
we don't know what happens in Netherlands-Ecuador situation. Like, remember,
I feel like
Russia.
If we don't win it, it's not looking good either.
Not winning it was how we got to the semi-final in Russia. Remember, we played that B team against Belgium.
But we would then go on to the Brazil side of the draw, wouldn't we?
But you can't go with that mentality, can you?
No.
You've got to go into each
after
game
last night's game, I think if we then it's then dropping off. That would feel like a bit of a failure,
They'd have it in 2018,
I think.
though, didn't it, when we lost the Belgium final game?
This is what I'm saying.
Rotation.
Both teams played a beating in that game, but it's not about going in not to win. You still tell them, get in there and win the game, but you make the team, you rest the players. So you win either way.
I think we just need to be more attacking, braver. And again, it's like that first game compared to last night's game. It was like watching a completely different team.
Yeah. What did you make of the midfield last night? Because I feel like Declan Rice didn't quite get on the ball as much as he did in the first game. The USA midfield, hats off to him, did shut that area down lovely.
Yeah.
But Bellingham and Rice, quite ineffectual.
That middle three is really strong for the US. And they've got other options on the bench. They're not even starting Brendan Aronson, for example. But I think it's linked to your point about the fullbacks, right? When the fullbacks bomb on, and then they've got Saka and Sterling coming inside, it opens up space for the centre halves to get wide and Rice to drop in, almost like it becomes a back three in a way. He wasn't doing that as much. He didn't need to because the fullbacks were there, so he couldn't get on the ball. But yeah, you have to say hats off to USA. We're obviously going to look at it from an England perspective, but they were really good. And there's a lot of people on social media that seem to be celebrating like a win. Like, you got 2 points, guys. Let's just calm down. You still need to beat Iran, or else you ain't getting out the group. But
massive game.
It is a massive
game, that, isn't it? I do agree. I thought their game plan, USA game, I think they studied that Iran game a lot and looked at how open they were, and I think it was an effective game plan from USA. Let's have a look at your next two, because it's 5 points each. These are your next ones. Spencer, you want to see the rap artist Plan B playing?
I think he's got a bit about him, guys.
Got a bit about him, yeah?
He can
Get him in the
team.
No, what do you go on? Explain what you mean by Plan B.
Well, I don't think we've got one. Just to be quite honest with you, it's not. We didn't really have the players. Maybe you could have argued if Ivan Toney had gone there, we'd have had maybe a different kind of striker. But even with the players we've got, I think there is an option where Gareth could say in that game, and this is why we know that it was a game plan that we played like that. And it wasn't a case of tired legs. They were a bit tired, but when we're not pressing in that second half, it's because they've been told not to. So you can do as much as you want with regards to who you bring on, but if the instructions are don't press them in their own half, do all these things, you can't be that creative. And I think I would like to see in a game, I worry that we're going towards an Italy final situation again, where what we did last night against weaker opposition than Italy is playing for penalties, and it can work as a strategy. But I want to see us at 0-0, and certainly in a game that we are a favourite to win, going for it. In the group stage, you can afford to do that a little bit more than you can in the knockout. But yeah, what is the change you do if Kane, for example, is pulling back a little bit and maybe looks tired? Like, is he brave enough to take out our best player in Harry Kane? Because he's only our best player if he's playing that way on the day, and I don't think we've seen that yet from him.
You've gone for consistency, Nicole.
Oh, I think that's a real issue at the moment with this England team. We know the quality's there. We know individually there's so much talent. And as a team, actually, I think they do generally work very well together. A lot of them have been playing for England together now for quite a few years. So there is that sort of gelling there. But again, like I said earlier, that first game, 6-2 against Iran, we looked great. We were all so excited. We scored so many lovely goals as well.
So many players played well as well.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
It was brilliant. You could have rated every player, I'd say, from like a 7 to a 9 out of 10, right? And then last night, just a lot of the players, their performances, so many of them just dropped off.
There's one good player yesterday, wasn't he?
Harry Maguire. And that's your issue, Spencer.
Well, actually, because I think he's someone that gets, a lot of negativity.
Got to give him some
social
praise.
media. I think we have to give him credit, because whenever he puts on an England shirt, he's been brilliant. I'm glad you mentioned Harry Maguire. He's brilliant.
Let's go to the last one then, because I think it kind of directly relates a little bit to Harry Maguire, especially for you, Spencer. Back the team / Southgate.
I like this,
and is this after Rory Jennings' Southgate out mid-tournament shout?
It's not just because I've always back the team, and the boss. That's my mentality. If they're in the job, you back them until they're not.
Yeah.
You don't start saying things are failed when they haven't failed. It's all well and good talking about we get knocked out in the last 16. It hasn't happened yet. Gareth Southgate has lost one game in 90 minutes in a competition, in a tournament, which was against Belgium when he played our B team. Right? When he has played his first choice team in a tournament, he's never lost a game in 90 minutes. Okay? So yeah, draw yesterday isn't great against USA, but don't think for 1 second that wasn't a game plan where he said, we'll take a draw, because they clearly would, because they were playing for a draw. 4 points, then we're going to Wales. He knows exactly what he's doing, guys. And whether you like him or not, so far it has worked pretty well. I don't understand this negativity. They think like we should have won every tournament we've ever been in. Where have you been? This segment right now is how to win the World Cup. Well, none of us know. It's never happened in our lifetime. We've never seen anyone do it for England. This guy's got closer than anyone, and people are turning on him.
Do you think it's a bit of entitlement? Do you think it's a bit of entitlement?
It's 100% entitlement. It's definitely linked to who you support, I think, as well. I'm a West Ham fan, right? I've seen I've seen multiple relegations. I've seen managers come and go and no real improvement. You know, I like a little bit of loyalty, right? And this man deserves it. Yeah, you've got people, not just to throw everything at Rory, but use him as an example. He supports Chelsea, right? He's seen managers change every 5 minutes. He's seen 2 seasons when they've won the Champions League, perhaps because of a managerial change. So I understand his perspective, but it doesn't make it right. And it's also not relevant whether Southgate made it in the Premier League or not, or got relegated. Like, name me a World Cup manager who's won the Premier League. They're completely different competitions. You have to play completely different tactics, international football. It might not always be fun to watch.
Yeah.
There's a lot of nil-nils, but I don't care. I want us to win. Let's win a couple World Cups, then we can play like Brazil.
Passionate speech.
Come on,
I like
Spence.
it. Go on, Spence. I agree. Back the manager, back the team.
Absolutely.
Come on, England. We've got
very
great
quickly.
players.
Your last one was
Like
earlier
that,
subs.
Spence.
Yeah, I know. I'm still engrossed in Spencer's rant. Earlier subs, I think I'm echoing again the thoughts of like pretty much everyone that is an England fan that watched the game last night. Make changes when it's not working, when it's boring to watch, when we're not getting those goals. Make earlier substitutions. I'd say half-time, speak to them, do your team talk, say, right, you've got 5-10 minutes after in the second half. If it's not working, I'm bringing on subs.